Deadpool and Wolverine director Shawn Levy reveals the one thing, the absolute one thing that Kevin Feige said was off limits in Deadpool and Wolverine.
Some cocaine?
Hey, cocaine is the one thing that Feige said is off limits.
What about Bolivian marching powder?
They know all the slang terms. They have a list.
Even snowboarding?
Even disco dust.
White girl interrupter?
Even forest bump.
And as it turns out, there was a very particular reason that we have that one scene in Deadpool and Wolverine that they showed us in the trailer where Ryan Reynolds says they can't do cocaine. Shawn Levy and Ryan Reynolds wanted that particular scene to be in the movie to, let's say, break the fourth wall even more. And there's actually kind of more to that scene that meets the eye. And after we go over this, we're going to go over some really cool Avengers 5 news. But first, let's talk about what was recently revealed by Shawn Levy in his interview with Total Film. Recently, Total Film has been releasing a lot of info about Deadpool and Wolverine, including a lot of the new looks that we've seen. Like the one photo we have seen that has seemingly a ton of different cameos. Juggernaut behind Wolverine, what appears to be Sabretooth, possibly a Blade variant, possibly even a Bishop variant as well. But to top it all off, in this interview with Shawn Levy, they said that Deadpool and Wolverine director Shawn Levy reveals the one thing that was off the table in the MCU. Deadpool and Wolverine director says there were early conversations about what couldn't be in the movie, so they wrote a joke about it. They say Deadpool and Wolverine may be Marvel Studios' first rated R feature, but that doesn't mean it could go all the way with some of its more risque jokes. Shawn Levy says, I'm so wary of what I can say, but certainly there were early conversations about overt drug use. And this was seemingly kind of an issue for Shawn Levy and Ryan Reynolds since the previous two Deadpool films did in fact feature quite a lot of drugs. And it seems like there were some versions of Deadpool and Wolverine that did indeed have some drug use in it, and the fact that Kevin Feige said overt drug use was not on the table put a little bump in the road for Shawn Levy and Ryan, but they said the solution then became clear. And we thought that was an interesting conversation, Levy says. Let's actually write a dialogue scene about having had it, referring to the conversation. And if you think about this for a second, it's actually quite genius. The movie is rated R. It's the first one coming from Marvel Studios. You can do kind of whatever you want, but no drugs. It's interesting that they didn't say something like no nudity or no, air quotes here, love scenes. But what they were told was no overt drug use. Not saying we're getting those scenes in the movie, but it is interesting that the one thing that was off limits was the drug use. And what's genius here is not only did they actually tell the truth in this joke by Deadpool breaking the fourth wall, telling Blind Al, hey, Kevin Feige said the one thing that was off limits is cocaine. Not only were they telling the truth, but they were actually giving a good reason to why there isn't going to be any drug use in the rest of the movie. And I'm pretty sure that this will most likely be a running joke throughout the movie, especially because Deadpool and Deadpool 2 really did establish that Blind Al loves coke. Deadpool as well. He even hit us with that LeBron James parody scene in Deadpool 2. So I'm sure there's going to be a constant running joke throughout the film about how much Deadpool would love to do drugs or give Wolverine some so he can loosen up a little bit. I'm pretty sure that's going to be a joke in the film. So again, really clever. Not only do we get a really funny fourth wall breaking joke about a real conversation that happened with Kevin Feige at Marvel Studios, but at the same time, it's actually a very clever way of taking care of the problem that you cannot talk about it in the movie. It's very well established why that's not going to happen. And like I mentioned, we have some really cool Avengers 5 news, and it's coming directly from a really big Marvel actor himself. And if you enjoy keeping up to date on the latest MCU news and rumors, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the latest videos. This news today is coming from Benedict Cumberbatch himself, which is a little ironic because yesterday we talked about a rumor about Benedict Cumberbatch returning to possibly be in Deadpool 3. We didn't think that he would be in Deadpool 3 or Avengers 5. However, it sounds like he is most definitely going to be in Avengers 5 based off of what he said in this video from Netflix. In an official video listed on the Netflix's Still Watching Netflix account, they released a video titled Benedict Cumberbatch looks back at his most iconic roles. And of course, in there is Doctor Strange, who he starts off by calling him Dr. Sparks. And I can't show all of it for copyright reasons, but I'll show the most important part and tell you what he says prior to that. He starts off by stating, "I'll be really honest about it, the joy of playing him, Stephen Strange, is immense. But also, the joy of playing him means that I can help create and platform stories and writings and less commercial fare into being." And from here, I'll just play what he said from this point on.
So he's a gift in many, many ways in my life. As a producer, as an actor, I love playing him. He's great fun. Oh, where to start? I don't know. I mean, I was going to play him, and then I couldn't because I'd already booked Hamlet, and that was happening. And then they drifted away, and then they drifted very quickly back to me, which is nice. And they shifted their whole kind of factory line to my schedule, and it's been a pretty lovely relationship with that company ever since. I'm very much looking forward to Avengers next year, which is cooking up a storm.
So of course, those final words that he said there, I'm very much looking forward to Avengers next year. It's cooking up a storm. So this seemingly is him verifying that he is indeed going to be in Avengers 5 next year. Something we didn't really know if it was going to happen or not. We had heard reports in the past that Doctor Strange was not actually going to be a part of the Avengers 5 roster. And he still might not technically be a part of the Avengers team that is fighting, but that doesn't mean that he's not going to show up in the film, especially because it really does sound like they rewrote a lot of what Avengers 5 was going to be. For example, what we heard before was that it was going to be a pretty grounded movie. But now in a report from Deadline, we're hearing that Avengers 5 is going to have over 60 characters in it. So with a film like that, a big, huge ensemble Avengers film, having over 60 characters, obviously we can assume that Doctor Strange is going to be one of them. He might not be a part of the new Avengers team that is going to be established and assembled in Captain America: Brave New World, with characters like Captain America, the new Falcon, the Hulk, maybe She-Hulk, Hawkeye, maybe Spider-Man. With over 60 characters in the film, we can assume they're going to show us a lot of different things happening at the same time. So we can assume that a lot of our teams are going to be spread out. In fact, what they might show us with Doctor Strange is him with Clea, because we know Avengers 5 is going to come out before Doctor Strange 3, which we always thought that if this were to happen, if Doctor Strange would show up in Avengers 5, which is before Doctor Strange 3, the continuity might be weird, because then the events from Multiverse of Madness would have already happened and he should be with Clea at the time. But since it sounds like Avengers 5 is going to show a lot of different heroes doing different things at the same time, they'll probably show us Strange and Clea and what they're doing in Avengers 5. Then whatever happens there, they'll pick up on that in Doctor Strange 3. So that's what's most likely going to happen in Avengers 5, because otherwise the continuity would be really messed up. But this actually makes a lot of sense. In Avengers 5, we'll see what Doctor Strange and Clea are really up to. They apparently go to the Dark Dimension. Clea is reportedly working with a group called the Black Priests, which is a multiverse group who goes around and tries to prevent incursions from happening. From what we've heard, they believe that Doctor Strange and all of the Doctor Strange variants are a huge threat to the multiverse, much like what was discussed in Multiverse of Madness. From here, we'll start to see incursions happen all throughout the multiverse, and we'll see a bunch of different teams deal with different things happening due to the incursions starting to happen. This will most likely lead Doctor Strange to have to go and investigate what is actually happening to their universe, the threat to their universe. So what I'm assuming happens is they obviously realize that the multiverse is in jeopardy, and they deal with an immediate threat in Avengers 5. Whether that's one variant of Kang, multiple variants, or a completely different villain altogether, they deal with that immediate threat. They deal with an immediate incursion. That's what we get in Avengers 5, but then they realize that that's not the only threat out there, and that the whole multiverse is in jeopardy of collapsing and tearing apart. So that's when, after Avengers 5, in Doctor Strange 3, he starts to go out and investigate why the multiverse is falling apart. Maybe he knows by that point in time that it is Kang, depending on if we get Kang as a villain in Avengers 5 or not. Or maybe that's something that he has to go out and discover. Perhaps Loki is even involved in some way, shape, or form. But this does make sense considering the events that have taken place in the MCU. Right now, Strange should be with Clea, so they'll show us that in Avengers 5. And then Doctor Strange 3 will really start to dive into the multiverse. At least that's what I think makes the most sense, but go ahead, let me know your thoughts about all of this in the comments down below. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the latest MCU news and rumors. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.